Hey friends, GM. That we had the space, it got shut down. We're back. Welcome to the hangout. Coder Dan's not going to be here today, as he said. He's out with the fam doing holiday stuff. So there is the ongoing Gotchi versus Alchemica spillover stuff that's happening. I believe it's still going on this weekend. I don't know if Goops can speak to that in the chat at all, but if you want to jump in, you could do that. Also, oh, GotchiBot's not recording right now. We have an issue there. We'll get that settled. Okay, GotchiBot is recording. So, yeah, you can hop into the Gotchiverse, play around a little bit. We're not really gonna have a hangout for the first half of things. We can just jump into yeah, there you go, Schnitzel Death. It's not open at the moment. The Gotchiverse, but we'll wait to see if that opens up. It might be on winter break as well. I guess this will be a very quick DAO call. There's not really much to discuss. I'll drop in the snapshot that we did have our one active proposal. Here we go. This is for the partial treasury distribution. This one reached quorum. We're at 7.2 million in favor. That's 86.23% versus 733.7K or 8.79% abstaining, with 4.98% of voters voting no. That's 415,000 votes. This one has reached quorum. We're at 115%. The end date is December 30th, 2025. So in about 10 days, this will be official, and then we could start moving forward with the process of distributing part of the treasury. There is some ongoing discussion for the timing of that, whether smart contracts will be ready and stuff for that kind of thing. You can jump over to the relevant conversation, which I'll drop here in a second. It is this one. Yep. You can go forward and look at that. The other, actually, I believe we do actually have one other vote that is live, and this is for the Aavegotchi Market Maker SIG prop. I actually forgot to put this in the DAO call agenda, which I'll do. I'll amend that in a second, but here is the link to it. This is for the Skynet Trading X Aavegotchi Market Maker SIG prop proposal. This one has 3.5 million votes in favor, yes, to engage with Skynet at 91.26% of the vote. The no votes have 335.8K, that's 8.74%. Not in favor. Quorum is currently 53.3% on this one. We do have, for this one, it's a shortened vote, 10 days in total. So you have 7 days left, friends, to drop a vote in and make sure that you are being recorded and heard in the DAO for the market maker proposal. I'll drop the link to that now. Schnitzel Depp also updating us that the Gotchiverse is now open. So for this, I don't know. There's not really much more discussion to be had about these two subjects. Zonzi is coming up, so thank you, because I need some help here. If you have if there's any relevant questions or comments or topic of conversation that we should have here, we should do that now, because this is looking like it's going to be a really short hangout today. But we might as well spend some time here since we got 14 of us, 16 of us in total in the audience. Santi, what's up?
Hey, I'm just waking up. How are you guys?
Doing well, doing well. Just doing the thing. The talking about the distribution and the market maker proposal. Distribution is passing. Market maker proposals on its way. So just got to make sure people are there voting. How are you otherwise?
Life is good. I can't complain.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Um, just waiting for some, because we have some people typing. Supreme Pablo and Schnitzel Def are typing. After distro, can we have a haunt 3? That is, I think that's a Coder Dan question. To be honest, I would imagine that. Yeah, I don't know, to be honest. Like, I would think that without the debt of rarity farming ongoing, I think we can do stuff like that. But it remains to be seen what happens once the assets are distributed. Whether we're able to still reach quorum. I think we should be able to still reach quorum, but will there be enough active voters? Like, what will happen once the distribution happens? Do people get their money and walk away, or do they continue being active in the DAO? Um, if we continue to be active in the DAO, I think it's worth having a conversation for a Haunt 3. But the other question is there even demand for a Haunt 3? Currently, gotchis are selling for sub $25, if I'm not mistaken. So there's no current um, there's no current demand at this point, so it might not make sense to do a Haunt 3. I've always wanted a Haunt 3 just because I wanted a Ghost Gotchi, but that might not be the right move. Maybe we consider making a base related Gotchi. Yes, Nissel Def saying, I think we need more strategy for the future to do that. Yeah. Yeah. I think the first big part, honestly, is just getting the distribution done and nailing down the mechanics of that. I know it's via Merkle. They're working on the smart contract. If it's already, I think, not live, but they've been working on it. I saw PG mentioning that they're using components and stuff from Open Zeppelin. There's a GitHub you can actually check, and I think Coder Dan also said that they were working something for distribution on their side. So once we have those details lined up, really the big thing we need is for the transition for Nestor into the director role, and then that final step of just checking with legal counsel to make sure that we can do everything. Because part like I was reading the prop and it was mentioning, basically Nestor's ability to basically tell the multi sig signers that we can't sign it because of whatever issues. That only affects a certain part of the distribution. So like the rarity farming part should just be easy peasy. But yeah, those specifics have to be kind of nailed down. That's above my pay grade, so I'm just kind of watching, this train wreck happen as it's happening. So yeah, once we do that, I think then we should be fine. I know there's calls to have the distribution happen before the end of the year. I don't think that's possible because we would need to, we have to wait for the snapshot to settle, and then, yeah, whatever technical needs for security reasons, we should definitely make sure that we're doing things, properly so that nothing bad happens. Nadil says, plan, goals, strategy, actions, promotion, repeat. Yeah, that's the way you do it. You got to put one foot in front of the other. You have to know where you're aiming before you go on your journey. And yeah, I think we should be fine. Also, Nestor saying, but there is not an intention on my part. Yep. So I don't see him blocking the multi-sig signers from doing that. He also did prompt Tim Rabble, as you see Choina is saying, in the CorpSec channel. We did see that. Hopefully he gets back to you within a week or so. I don't know. I'm assuming he's in Singapore, so maybe I don't know if Christmas is a thing in Singapore. Nestor's on his way up. He can speak for himself, though. Let me get him up here. There you go. Faye saying, I'm interested in hearing what the people think the future of the project should look like. It feels like there's not many of us left. So where do we go from here realistically in 2026? What's the actual vision? From my perspective, I think the vision, at least on
I,
Pixelcraft side, is kind of the same, right? For the DAO, things change, but I mean, the DAO just doesn't fund projects anymore, which I think is fine. I don't think that materially should change anything that Pixelcraft's doing because they have their funding and they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. The direction of the DAO obviously will have way less money, but I think we should be in maintenance mode, kind of focused on what we need to do as a DAO to maintain the foundation, and then we can choose our direction from there once everything shakes out. Nestor, good morning or afternoon.
yeah, good morning. Hi. What's your experience? How long does it take until he comes back with something? Tim Ravel, I mean,
It
our
varies.
supervisor.
Yeah, it varies. There are times
Varies.
where I ping him multiple weeks in a row before he
Mhm.
gets back to me, or like I have to go to Jesse and Dan to kind of get him
Oh,
back. So he can be very quick. He can also take a week or two sometimes.
yes, I think they have Christmas too in Singapore, so I don't know. It's not much time until the holidays. Yes. So let's hope um, he will, yeah, make himself make it quick. Let's say. Yes.
Yeah, like Choin is saying, he's usually more responsive when PC pings him. The other issue is, I don't know with the Cayman Islands, their court schedule, because this has to go through their grand court, if I'm not mistaken. They might be in recess for the
Mhm.
holidays.
Yeah, registrar, right? They have to register it,
Yes.
and that might be. Yeah, that's correct. So Mm, yeah, and say he was not appointed by the directors. Um, I mean Tim Ravel and the firm in Singapore. It was like mediated through Pixelcraft, or
What had happened was we found out that we were struck off, or about to be struck off
yes,
by the Cayman Islands. So Pixelcraft mentioned Tim Rabble and Lotusha as a possible solution. That we didn't do a formal vote because it's the corpsec was under, from what I remember, that's under the preview of the foundation directors slash multi-sig. Like we I think that was in the
yeah,
constitution that we can choose one without going through a vote. And then same thing with the supervisor,
yeah,
because we didn't previously have one. So we, because he's only, I think they charge $2,000 a year to be the nominee
yes.
supervisor. Yeah.
So maybe you don't think that we could get it like cheaper, the supervisor, to look out for for somebody who is more responsive, maybe, and maybe even a better deal.
I don't know, to be honest. The supervisor
Mhm.
though is a separate position from the corporate secretary. So Lotusha as the
Yes,
corporate
yes.
secretary is our liaison between the Cayman Islands. The nominee supervisor, from what I
Mhm.
understand, is kind of like our safeguard. So if something goes off the rails with Lotusha, we have someone on our side that could go and represent us or make
Uh-huh.
changes to documents, if I remember correctly. We chose Lotusha because they offered 2K a year, which is the cheapest
Yes.
that we saw. But there was discussion of having like a member of Gotchi Gang hold that role, because that role,
Yeah.
it doesn't have any sort of liability or fiduciary duty
Right.
compared to like the actual
Correct.
directors or officers.
That's right. And the corpsec has to be on the Cayman Islands, but we don't really know who that is, as I understand.
Well, it's Lotusha. I think they probably have,
Latuja.
yeah, they probably have
Yeah. And
offices.
they are, I have an office there. Okay.
Yeah.
I
So
see.
Tim Ravel is Lotusha. So he's representing
Mhm.
both our corpsec and now the nominee supervisor, which is not unusual because
Both.
I think Dowbox was offering
Yeah.
something similar.
I see. Well, okay. So we wait for that, and yeah, mm, I will. Yeah, I will post what I find regarding legal counsel. And I think it should be a legal counsel in the Cayman Islands. So as to, well, yeah, have there somebody directly mm, at the place. Mhm.
Yes, I think it also should be someone that has, I guess, relevant crypto or DAO Foundation experience,
Yes.
which is probably going to
Yeah, yeah.
narrow this down a lot. But yeah,
Mm, Well, they are coming up with a lot of crypto firms. They even have like a program where they facilitate buying real estate on the Cayman Islands with crypto. So I found an organization. Maybe I can drop the link, and they are doing something, yeah. And also all the legal firms that are concerned with crypto, they have such. I think they have. They are called block something with blockchain, like a blockchain association of the Cayman Islands. I will find it. Mhm.
okay, good. Yeah,
So mm, they're moving something, and one of the firms is I found it Apple Buy, I guess Applebee, Apple Buy. Applebee is the um, mm, fast food chain, isn't it?
yes,
Apple Buy, I guess, with a Y.
yeah. Applebee's is it's kind of a restaurant chain, but I guess it is. So it's like
Restaurant.
it's not super fast food, but it's sort of faster.
Uh-huh. Fast. Yeah, it's not in Europe. It's in the US, right?
Yeah, it's just not as bad as like McDonald's, like not that kind of level of fast.
Yes. Oh, that's some say it's poison. Yes.
Yeah, I mean that's all of American food, but um, what do you think of what FaZe is asking here? Because I think that we have a short meeting today. It's worth having a conversation
Yes.
with you specifically. He's interested in hearing what we think the future of the project should look like. We're about to have a treasury distribution, a partial treasury distribution. There is going to be some level of treasury remaining. I remember Maxi Crouton saying that the impermanent loss we're suffering on ghost liquidity pairs means we have like 12 million ghosts or something like that. You can find this in the DAO discussion channel, but we will have some level of treasury left. I think obviously we need to manage our treasury a lot better this time. Um, what, yeah, like what do you envision as for the DAO moving forward as the new director?
Well, well, I have a few thoughts, a few ideas for the roadmap. I think what I now found in the past few days very interesting is like this idea that is also, propagated in on the Caymans and well around the globe. This idea of a virtual citizenship. Yeah, um, this is something that maybe will become a topic in the future, and also yeah, like new forms of government. Yeah, how will you govern these virtual states? I don't know if you know the how is he called? Balaji is this guy who wrote the network state, and it's something in this direction a little bit. And well, I would say we have a lot of experience, even if painful one, in this regard. So we are a crypto project, 5 years old. And there is another thing. I read a lot of papers. I read the conclusion and the expose, and there were a myriad of studies regarding DAOs, quantitative studies, and often they conclude with a sentence like, wouldn't it be wonderful if we had a qualitative study? That would mean like interviews, someone with real, not only numbers, but real experience. And I I could envision like a way of advertising our DAO through like this scientific rail. Maybe being cited, maybe make an own paper, a qualitative study, and just imagine, then you're cited by all the quantitative studies in the yeah, in the citations. That could be a way, maybe. Mhm. So we have a lot of material in the DAO forum and in the Discord. Question is like a legal question too. If we could, I don't know, train an LLM with our texts and conversations. Not everybody, I think, would be accord with that, on the same page. These are some ideas. So it's moving, yeah. But like you say, it shouldn't cost much. Nothing um, expensive. Rather, take what we have.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, I just posted a article. We didn't really talk about this last week, even though it was very pertinent. The what's happening within the Aave DAO, and kind of
Mhm.
like this battle between the DAO, which is in the interest of the token holder, versus the Aave Labs,
Uh-huh.
which controls the brand. And we're kind of in a similar situation.
Mm.
Not nearly. I mean, maybe I would say it's not toxic.
Mm.
We also don't have revenue, so we're not fighting over that currently, but
No,
it is
no.
something to be aware of, because in this conversation that's been had, it's like the idea of, are
Mhm.
DAOs even necessary anymore based on the current regulations, at least in the US, which, is very short sighted and tunnel vision of me, because I'm a
Yeah.
US citizen. I'm not a global citizen. Um, this is,
Yeah.
it's worth discussing though, like the alignment of the token holders versus the brand holders, the IP holders, because it's a very similar situation where Aave
Yeah.
Labs owns the branding, the
Mhm.
front end, the websites, similar to us, where we own, like, we are the custodians of the protocol as the DAO, but we don't
Yeah.
really
Mhm.
own the smart contracts. We're supposed to
The
receive them.
IP.
Yeah, all of this stuff
Yeah.
should flow
Mhm.
to us if anything were to happen to Pixelcraft, but I don't think we really have
Mhm.
anything in place other than just for the IP, not even smart contracts and stuff. So
Mhm.
going forward with the new structuring of the DAO, we should probably discuss like our alignment with Pixelcraft, and whether, like, working, like how this DAO is working currently, if it makes sense for the token holders.
Yes, it should be an evolution. Like there was the Cocoon phase, and then the metamorphosis, and I don't know even what the last phase would have been. The last phase would have foreseen to own the protocol entirely, and I think the IP too. but well, it got stalled a little bit, and so it didn't came to pass as of now. I think a lot of DAOs are now. I think it still will remain, but maybe it will be called something different. Yeah, maybe there will be some hybrid forms, or maybe a completely new form of organizing. But I think it is important, so to speak. We are the customers as the DAO. You know, Pixelcraft was like in the beginning the guiding hand. Okay, but it should evolve to a state where we are like those who give the directions, and well, yeah, that would have been the path. But the precondition is, of course, a governance that yeah that's slim and that's functioning. Yeah, so that should be the main focus, I think, in the next year.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I wish I knew the exact numbers for what the DAO will be left with in terms of treasury, because obviously we have to
We can
consider
look.
the foundation cost. We paid them going forward for this year. Pixelcraft has covered us. We will either end up using the
Well,
discretionary fund or using,
yeah.
the new annual budget, which would be for like 10K or something like that. So the ongoing affairs of the
Yes,
DAO, and then outside of that,
I
we don't
think
really have any
it
costs.
yes, I don't think it is that much what the foundation, also the maintenance of the foundation would cost, including legal fees, including a discretionary budget, which is, well, the topic. Well, the discretionary budget of the foundation is something to give grants, like small grants, like maybe some advertisements or something like that. Like we had with the social media campaign. How much did it cost? I don't know. What was the name? I think it was $500 or
Oh yes, for
$1,000. Not
breadcrumb, right?
breadcrumb. That's it. Right. How much was it? 1,000, I
I
think.
I think they gave it was I think 1,000 Ghost. It might have been 1,000 USDC of Ghost, but I'm not 100% sure. Goobs would know better.
You see, but it wasn't that much, so to speak, but it had a certain effect, and mm, one could imagine something like that every 3 months, and you still would have some, mm, mm, name recognition.
Yep, we have a comment from Faye saying, "True, the problem now
Mm.
is actually let's just read the part from Schnitzeldef because I don't want
Yes.
to. We always had the most exposure with events. Next to rarity farming, this was mostly gaming events. That's when people come in, play, compete. Best when we integrate our assets. Battler and Spirit Force Arena were a prime example for it. Faye's replying, "True, the problem now is that SFA is gone and it's been total silence from Battler. Is Aavegotchi essentially just Gotchi Guardians in 2026? Is Web3 gaming the focus, or is it only a tower defense game on Steam? I think it's hard to be strategic about implementing vision if long term community members like me can't even accurately define the project." So I will say,
Yeah.
I am like part of the sort of like on the fringe of part of the Gotchi Battler team for the marketing. It looks like they're gearing up for the game to be ready for a beta in the next month. Like we're getting very close to it
That
from what I've heard from
super
Immaterial.
cool.
Yeah. So
That would be super cool.
yeah. So I think
And we have, mhm,
no, go ahead.
yes, you go. Well, how many seasons do we have before us with Gachi Battler? I think 3 seasons, at least two.
Yeah, I believe 2 or 3 seasons. Don't
Two,
quote me
three
on this
seasons.
because I don't know it for sure, but it's a
Mhm.
couple seasons, and then there's supposed to be
Yes.
rewards for the new version
Mhm.
of the Battler, which is what's going to be used to kind of onboard new players. So hopefully that's
Yes.
helpful. The one thing I will say with Schnitzel Def is I completely agree. The vibes in here were way different when we were doing regular rarity farming parties, when we did gaming events.
Yes.
We've backed away from that. Like we don't even do spaces anymore. Most of our community driven stuff is just really this hangout now, which is unfortunate because it'd be nice, we're not really facing the outside world anymore. like we used to,
Mhm.
drawing in new people.
Mhm. Not making us visible. That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
So Supreme Pablo, I
well,
actually disagree with you
mhm.
100%. Like I said, I've been part of the Web3 space, gaming space for a while. None of these
Yeah.
games, even off the grid, which is actually a really good game, are sustainable
Mhm.
without rewards because people absolutely do not give a damn about Web3
Mm.
gaming right now. It's unfortunate, and that's why I am of a different. I understand the critiques of Pixelcraft because they've pivoted a
Yeah.
lot. I agree with that, but they're also fighting an uphill battle because nothing from Web3 gaming is doing particularly well. We're seeing more studios collapse. Uh, it's not an
Yeah.
ideal situation, but really the only
Oh,
way to get users in is by offering them some kind of carrot. Without the carrot, they're just not going to come unless your game is
at
amazing.
least a little bit.
Yeah, it has to
Yeah.
be. It
At
has to
least a
be
little
something.
bit.
You shouldn't give away the whole treasury, and we can
No.
argue
No.
like it's not going to be sustainable. Yeah, that's why the conversion actually matters. But there is a yeah, you don't get rewarded for winning a game of Fortnite. Yeah, but Fortnite is fun. Like Fortnite is on a different level. It's like my kid. He loves all these Roblox games. I've shown him multiple Web3
Uh,
games. He refuses to play. He refuses to play them even when there are rewards in place. There's a chasm between
but
like what a good game is and what Web3 games are right now.
but if you look at it, the pros are battling for I think $100. They're spending the whole weekend. I think my son plays too Fortnite, and 8 hours or something like that. In front of the machine for $100. So yeah, if the game is fun, the rewards, it doesn't have to be much, even if it's $1, or a bet or $1. And maybe some burning. I don't know if we maybe change our stance regarding betting or like Gotchi poker with very small amounts, or if that would necessitate some change of structure of. But also in the Cayman Islands, they are aware of that gaming is also something customers want.
Yeah,
Mm,
Nadeem makes a good
I don't
point
know.
about the investing of millions on promotion, marketing, communications. Um, the ultimately the issue is that it's just I had this great conversation with a very sardonic Canadian last week on our DGen Hour show. I host a show Friday nights where we drink and do prediction markets, but we just kind of have an open talk. Foreigners actually comes in pretty often. And we were talking with this Canadian guy, and he's just going off on like Web3 gaming. And like his main point was like Web3 gaming doesn't really solve anything that hasn't been solved already by Web2 gaming. Like the games are better in Web2. There's already ways for us to trade skins on marketplaces. Now they can nerf you at any point, but the token rewards really are the only thing that holds people's attention. The speculation of Web3 gaming, the idea that I buy an asset, it could be worth more, and that asset won't get nerfed because it's on the blockchain, which some teams still even nerf those things. But a lot of it comes down to the rewards that are given. If you look around, there aren't many Web3 games that have like any kind of like substantial user base without rewards, and even the ones with rewards are not doing particularly well. So that's why I think it's an industry issue too, because we are like this is the bear of the bear. Like I've said this before, Orium Network had like a budget from what its original raise, where we had 2.5 years, 2 years of budget. I got let go 2.5 years in, and at the end, like basically Ernani was just saying he's trying to raise money, but no one is interested in Web3 gaming. It's like anything,
In sponsoring.
yeah,
Mhm.
like
I
any kind
see,
of raise
but
for the company because they don't the idea of NFTs and Web3 gaming are so down bad in terms of sentiment. So
yeah, yeah.
it's an issue. I Yeah, go ahead.
No, no, it's not the time. It's not the time for that. It's really the absolute, bottom of popularity in this case. But we have a very special kind of NFT. Our NFTs are, you know, they are wallets. They are extendable, through the diamond standard. So they're a little bit different than other NFTs. And well, if the idea should survive, and I think it probably will, well, then we have other products too. as was mentioned. We have the Gotchi Guardian game, and we have a long history.
Yeah, see, I like the I forgot, it might have been Mither Allegory, who had made the suggestion, like in Australia they use gotchis could be used for education on finance because they do that in their schools.
Mm,
In the U.S. they don't really do that.
mhm,
The DAO could broker
mhm.
those kind of partnerships. It's going to be difficult because we're decentralized, but I want to read some of these comments because we do have a lot of comments coming in.
Yes,
Ruby
yes.
Red River, community events are sparse indeed, and it's been remarkable that Gotchi have survived. We need to tout our own horn for that to
Mhm.
start. Schnitzel Def saying we cannot really compare us with one of the most played games worldwide, which I agree with Fortnite. Awkward AI, hey man, I still have your the thing you gave me with the battery and the lights. The guy, I think it's a raffle from Eve Denver the first year. The main reason I joined was because I saw a goal of 1 million plus daily users, and I came on board to see how that would happen. Rentals are an interesting addition, but we need things going to keep people renting our gotchis. Nadil says these games invest millions on promotion and marketing. We said that. Ruby Red saying I've always wanted to do something for gotchi in the Web 2 RL space, real life space, collectibles. Collectibles seem to be the thing. Everybody's doing blind boxes right now, but you
Mhm.
have to consider the cost of that. Phase with a very important point. The DAO has invested millions in PC, but not into a specific product. Supreme Pablo is saying we can't
Mhm.
give away what we can't generate, and I do agree with that. So this is part of the issue. Like we have to, as
Mhm.
a like any other business, you cannot survive without net income. We need revenue that exceeds our expenses. If we have that,
A
then
flow. Mhm.
yeah,
Mhm.
if we have that, then we
Mhm.
have the basics to be able to create a flywheel where we can
Mhm.
reward players. But the question is, how
Mhm.
do you sustain that flywheel? It seems like other
But look,
projects do it through endless minting, which we clearly don't want.
yeah,
So
no,
these are important questions.
yeah. But did you mention there's still enough in the treasury, like over a million, I think, and that is enough runway if you only spending, you know, five figures per year. So you have runway enough, and as you say, maybe it's enough to have a small flywheel at the start, something that draws in eyes and popularity.
Yeah, the issue with this is though, like realistically, we've been so bad about marketing. Like our marketing spends have not been, the DAO basically the only marketing spend the DAO does currently is the Gotchi greeters, which we can argue if it's a net positive. I think it's a net positive. I'm biased as hell, but seeing people like the community out and getting that representation at events, I think it matters. I actually am starting to think it doesn't matter as much, at least in the U.S. Globally, I think it matters a lot more. So I love the idea of the Gotchi greeters having more of a global presence because I think U.S. citizens, like are way less likely to play Web3 games right now. Foreign is chiming in here. I just want to read this. We used to have variety, community events, art competitions, dev incentives, mini games, tournaments, multiplayer stuff, guilds. There was something for everyone and always something going on or to look forward to. Once the dust settles from all this and we can see what the DAO actually has left to work with and who stays and who goes, we need to try and revive those vibes. I 100% agree. I actually had
Mhm.
somebody yesterday I met in one of my spaces, and they said they were onboarded. Like they knew my Aavegotchi because they knew Pixel Sensei, and they were collecting
Wow.
their fake Gotchi art. And I was just like lamenting on like, damn man, the fake Gotchi vibes were fun. I know it doesn't really add anything to the protocol, but it was innovative, and the community art, we were all
Wow.
very much into it. But there's no return on
Yes.
investment
Yes.
for that. For you're buying it because you're collecting. It becomes
Not
difficult. So
yet, but
yeah,
think about the Pepe cards. Think about the Pepe cards. They were like a stillbirth for many years, and then it took off. Didn't it take like 5 years for them to really be successful? And then you have the art. Still think that the art, the Aavegotchi art, the pixel art, is something timeless. And I was always drawn because of the aesthetic. Yeah, simply the color palettes and so on. That was something you either like it or you don't. But if you like it, well, you remember it.
yeah, 100%. I think ultimately, like the flywheel, like we said earlier, like we as a DAO, I think, because we're reaching a point where if Pixelcraft folds, we are not prepared to do anything with anything. Like even if we got the IP, we don't have a plan to market it. We don't really even have a budget to do much with it. So I think it in the next iteration of the DAO, once our old debts are settled via this partial treasury distribution and then the ongoing revenue share, if that ever happens with Pixelcraft, we need to take a hard, long look at ourselves and how we can generate revenue for the DAO in ways, be it through yield on our holdings, stuff that's sustainable that we're not out. It's like like I explained to my girlfriend or my
Small
kid.
things.
Yeah, you can't be
Small
spending
things.
more money than what you're making because eventually that we become the U.S. government and we blow up the world economy. We need to we
No.
need to balance things a
We
bit.
have to take stock. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, like we have to take stock of what we have. Now it's a revolving door. Now it's like a limbo. Yeah. So okay, it's the end of the year, and as you say, let's start the new year. Let's look at Gotchi Battler and let's take inventory. We make an inventory. This is what we have. This is what we did, and I think there is still something in the treasury. We plan it out for 1 year or for 2 years, and well, goes on a smaller scale. Yeah, and maybe that's a good thing. Maybe this slimming, yeah, of whatever it is that has to slim is a good thing.
Yeah, I'm reading just more of the comments here. You
Yes.
know, asking if there was a catalyst for the Pepe cards. I don't remember. Agassi saying we had rarity
Hmm.
farming, staking, Aave yielding, side projects. We just never had a main game. True. I mean, I would have preferred just the arcade of mini games at least to keep people
Mhm.
playing stuff and running like small tournaments for XP. But then we're inflating XP. That becomes an issue. The one thing is though, we have to realistically, once rarity farming is over, we have to understand that that objectively was a failure. That did not do what we needed it to do in the long term. It sustained things, but it was inevitable that we were going to eventually, once it runs out, we see a downtrend in the assets and everything. We're kind of at that point, but the ones of us that are still here kind of understand that. I think an important thing that's been missing is the staking, honestly. But we go back to a
Yeah.
place where you're just giving away free, like it's how do we make staking sustainable? Because without staking, I think that's a
Mhm.
big part of what
Mhm.
we're missing here as an ecosystem, especially if we're a DeFi gaming
Yes.
ecosystem. So I do agree with what Nadeel's saying.
Yeah, I'm
Fake
always.
gotchis are
Mhm.
cultural, and that kind of marketing is important. We just need to figure out. Yeah, like Zonzi's saying, we need more marketing. We need more games. The issue is we can't like Jonah Blake came in here and kind of made the point like he offered a deal for like $100,000 to $200,000 to get Aavegotchi IP into a bunch of different games versus us building a bunch of different games. I would love us to do some more BD on that end where our IP is what stands out and we're not like building because like let's be real, like the majority of the builders that we gave money to build games had no experience, but we're paying them insane levels of money. Now we trust and love a lot of these people. It didn't work out for most of these things, so going forward we have to reassess these things. Obviously I think having a smaller bag will do that for us. Like we don't have a treasury that we can just waste. And
Back
yeah.
to the roots. We have to communicate. You have to go out there and talk about the IP, show it, yeah, on all channels. So that's like in the beginning, like in the ancient times, yeah? Even before the first hound. How was it back then? That was even before my time. I entered shortly before the first hound, so I didn't really see that, but I think it was something like that. You were present in forums, on social media, and yeah, you talked about it.
Yep.
Mm.
Foreign saying a lot died with 2D verse. I love the pixel art. Yeah, if I remember correctly,
Yes.
2D was because they built it on Phaser and their own servers. There was a level of expense that they were incurring from that like unique backend that they built that wasn't sustainable. So that's why there's a pivot to 3D. Plus, most of the industry is pivoting towards 3D. Yeah, I think it's just like we as a DAO have to start thinking like that Aave post I posted at the top, like kind of more independently and like kind of getting our affairs in order in general. Having Nestor in the director role is the beginning of that because now we have kind of a clear leader, someone that we can appoint and kind of like work with to try to make some of this stuff work. But there's also that conversation about the level of decentralization that's necessary nowadays for our DAO to succeed. What is this? The SWOTs
Yes, but we will
analysis.
have to have departments. We will have to have two or three. 9 there shall be. Maybe, three departments. Yeah, with like 3 people who will be responsible for a certain section, like for the games, like for governance. I would imagine, and the third one, the third leg, I would see in marketing. The outward-facing communication. Yeah. Um, and yeah, we will have to have a little bit of hierarchical structure. Of course, like Machiavellian, if someone messes up then or doesn't have the time, then there's a rotation. There should be a rotation from the beginning, built in, so as to nobody gets complacent or forgetful. And documentation, that you cannot improve what you can't measure. That's the saying. Everybody knows the saying. So we have to write it down. Yeah, we have to somehow document it, maybe with an AI system, that doesn't cost much, a few $100 a month. um, Calls or meetings are recorded, then they are automatically, put together into a short text, and you can work with that. And we can work with that also with compliance, but we can use this as a material. But there has to be some rudimentary form of structure
Yeah, that's been the
in
thing
any
that we've
case.
been lacking for a long time in the DAO. Um,
Yes.
what
And,
I want to
look,
draw
we
attention
have
to.
to realize that.
Oh,
Yeah. Mhm.
no, go
We
ahead. Go
learn
ahead.
from that. Let's see. No, we have to learn from that. You say, um, I think all these mistakes are okay. They are painful if you look back, but we can, if we overcome it, and let's say we do, then it is a treasure trove of experience. I'm really convinced that. Yeah? And if then some later on some other DAO asks maybe for guidance, we are the old dogs, we are the OGs who can truly, and document it, show that we have this experience.
Yeah, 100%. I want to draw attention to what Nadeal dropped in and the SWOT analysis because I think this is good for
Yeah,
us to think
yeah,
about
yeah.
going forward, especially over the holidays. We have a little extra time. Us trying to
Yes.
figure out what we've got in terms of our strengths, what resources we can deploy, what are the advantages, what's working
Simple.
well, our weaknesses, the not so
Yes.
good, what abilities are we lacking, where are we starting to struggle, how can we overcome this, the opportunities, who might most value our strength, what trends work in our favor, like what's our mode as a DAO, how are we, or a project, and then the
Yes.
threats, what headwinds do we face, like if Web3 gaming is dead for the next 2 years in a bear market, we got
Mhm.
to recognize
Okay.
and pivot. Like, who might challenge us? What could go wrong? These are all very important for us to diagnose as a group and kind of think moving forward. Like, how do we prepare ourselves to move in the best ways?
Absolutely. As you say, Nadia, like thinking a little bit like a company, not a project, um, we are still, the experiment, we see it now like that. Almost everything failed. Okay. But we are still here. There are still, interested people who find it worth to think about the stuff, talk to each other. And there is still a lot of value, I think. And from that, you know, but it's so important to see it like a business. Yeah, like a business. Yeah, a small business.
Yeah, I think also going forward, the DAO has to. I don't know if this is really a DAO issue, more of a Pixelcraft issue, but we have to become more degen friendly. And by degen friendly, I mean dumb this
Yes.
all down significantly. I know we have a lot of giga chads in here, but the complexity does create a
Yeah.
chasm where people become like disinterested immediately because it's like, oh crap, like what's the one liner for an Aavegotchi that really sums up everything? A DeFi gaming asset, but there's all these wrinkles to it that we need to take a look at and figure out our core
Yeah.
competency and what we're pushing.
A core competency, yeah. I mean, there are unique selling propositions. Like, our NFTs are unique, but as you say, there have to be something, yeah, that is enticing. Yeah, that is instantly hooking. Yeah,
Yeah, Agi, I agree. Like, this is a good point. I think we also went to Geist and prepaid system to battle bots that way. And also, I think the vision of PC was that Aavegotchi becomes a platform slash chain, the gaming console, right? That's what the idea was. Others to develop games on. So many ambitious goals all at once. Just want to
yeah,
make sure
all
we,
at once.
yeah.
It's like we started books. I know these phases when I start 10 books and none gets finished. Nothing gets made thoroughly or studied thoroughly. So really, we should come together and find one thing that we put our energy into primarily. Yeah. And that is then, that with what you make marketing.
Yeah. So I guess for you as the new director officer, like going
Mhm,
into
mhm.
2026, what do you think? Like,
Yes.
what are the baby steps that we as a DAO can begin with? Once we get past the distribution, we
Okay.
assume that we get legal counsel. They tell us all of this is fine. Smart contracts are
Mhm.
audited. Everybody's happy. Distribution happens. The
Yeah.
claim is open. What are the
Mhm.
beginning next steps?
Um, like personally, every one of us maybe has some funds, so that's one thing. I think, for my part, but I will invest some of it, yeah. But I still I together we have to, because I'm talking about the money, together we have to think about the budget. The budget is absolutely necessary, and this is something we can all. That's like the fire that has to continue burning. And we have to say, we have these expenses, and everybody should know what it costs, why it costs so much. Isn't there something that could be done better? And I think it would be very, very important to have, like, again, the dashboard. And that's only the first thing. And as you said, small, maybe the mini games. The mini games, I had very much fun back then. That was this simple game where the things were jumping up and down, like early Trickotronic, Donkey Kong games. Yeah, something that simply shows your IP, shows the artwork. And I think somebody mentioned that lately in the chat. Almost everybody can make something like that, uh, right now. So, and yeah, and a new government structure. Yeah, budget and government structure. That would be the second thing. Um, Maybe try out some. I thought about going back to Aragon. Aragon is now on base, and that's the place where it all started. That was the first vote. And back then, it was, I don't know how many thousand uh, in dollars a vote did cost. Um, Now it's very cheap. So we could experiment with different forms of voting and, keep collecting experience. And uh, as you say, um, keep talking.
Yeah, I agree. Also, Supreme Pablo, that it is. This has been, I think, a very engaging conversation, and I think we need to have more of these as a DAO. Just
Yes.
kind of thinking
Mhm.
because we can't keep making the same mistakes we've made over the last 5 years. We've done stuff that
No,
has worked, but we've done a lot that has not. So being able to like
no.
assess ourselves and then
Mhm.
kind of, tweak and
Yeah.
make improvements, I think is the best move.
And yeah, and it's a little bit painful, if you look through some forum. I read I read very much, but I also read the old DAO forum conversations. And yes, one has to be honest to oneself. There was a lot of delusion, a lot of hot air talking, and but we have to keep in mind, yes, that these were really nice phases, nice hot bullish phases. And we all learned, we all learned. And one has to be honest to oneself. And so, that's also something that's important. I will try to look around. We had Maggie Gee I think was her name. She made the UI, and she asked a lot of questions. I remember I had once a talk with her for about 2 hours, and I would like I will try to look into it, how to put something like this into reality. I have a few people who I can ask, like a qualitative study, like interviews. What's your meaning? If you look back on the past 5 years, yeah, or 3 years, doesn't matter how long you are already a part of this. Um, what's if you look at it, if you look back, that's a lot of time. That's a lot of time, and for crypto, as we know, is these are how many cycles? 2 cycles already?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Technically three if you think about it, because we went
Technically three.
2020,
Yes. Yeah.
21 was the bear,
Yeah.
bull, then the bear. Now I guess we
Mhm.
went through the bull and we're going maybe into another bear. Also, Nadeal, I want to point out
Uh-huh.
for my son, I do learn to earn. I've been bribing him to get better grades because when he first moved with me,
Yes.
his mother was not on top of his grades. He had all like B's
Hmm.
and C's and a D. He's up to all A's and a B, but it's because I'm like basically
Yeah.
bribing him. Like, if you bring me 100,
Yes.
I will buy you a gift, but you have to get hundreds, nothing less. And he's like
No,
started grinding, and it's in now. It's like ingrained in him to work hard. That there's a benefit if just like in life, if you work harder, you'll do hopefully do better. I'm not bribing him in Roblox.
it's
It's been a lot of actual like snacks and stuff like that. He's weirdly into pomegranates, which are really expensive.
he's into what? Say again. Come again.
Pomegranates,
What?
the fruit.
Fruit. Those are expensive. Yes, that's right. Oh, but I concur. It's the same with my son. You have to somehow entice him. Yeah, we will go to the cinema. Yeah, we will do that. To the Luna Park. There has to be some reward. Yeah, or some prospect. Some of a win, and then there's the effort. Yes, because yeah, that's human nature. It's clear, and. Mhm. Well, we have still the Alchemica, a lot of it. Um, we could, as a currency, I mean, even if it is not worth almost anything, it is still a coin, fun looking, and yeah, we can use it in one form or the other. Um, like a test, one does not have to have much of a thought about spending it or burning it or losing it. And yeah, what I want to say, we have a lot of infrastructure pieces, yeah, laying around, yeah, like Lego blocks, and well, being creative.
Yeah, 100%. Foreign writing, we were hit by many roadblocks in a row that stalled our momentum and caused many pivots 2D to 3D, polygon chains to Geist to base, bots in the verse and
Mhm,
cartridges and profiles, bear
mhm,
times, takeovers, and distro. It's been a bumpy ride for a while now. Ruby Red saying, "Why did you get involved with Aavegotchi? Ask yourself that. Newbies need a reason to join.
mhm.
Refine those points and build. Let the complexity naturally progress from there concerning our future directions." So I can say for me, I got into it like there were no games when I got into it. I got into crypto
Mhm,
because I was interested in DeFi and I started on Aave. And then I found out about
mhm,
Aavegotchi in October of 2020, but I also realized as an American I couldn't partake in I wasn't
mhm.
VPN savvy back then. Couldn't do partake, but I ended up getting in April because I was like, yo, like even today I'm part of like the Katana InfoFi campaign. They're launching an NFT that's an ERC 6220, which is like it'll have like traits that can be added to it. There's like DeFi potential, and every time we talk about it, the members of the Katana team that know me are like, "Hey man, how does this compare to Aavegotchi?" It's like this is what I got into like NFTs for in the first place because it's the idea of like, oh shit, I have a collectible, a little Tamagotchi that can be my bank that I can, I was,
Yes.
this whole time I had my Spirit Force in my gotchis. I never touched it. I waited till
Yeah.
pretty much before the migration to actually pull the tokens out. But the idea of a digital collectible that could be a bank that's earning me interest bearing, interest on an interest bearing token,
Yeah,
and I do
yeah,
minor gameplay stuff. That was huge. I didn't need a AAA
that was
game. I
huge.
didn't care about the Gotchiverse because that was actually not announced when I got
That
into
was later,
Aavegotchi.
later,
Yeah,
much later.
that came in the
Right,
summer.
that
Yeah,
was the beginning.
yeah. So
The crossover, the crossover between NFTs and DeFi, and and the governance. What was for me very impressive was the discussions early on. It was it was very much anger there and frustration after the first hound, because you had I didn't do it. I didn't get any portals because there were people who knew cranked the gas up to I don't know how much, and very the talk about the second haunt started uh, in the evening. In the evening, for me, like a few hours later, and it was the manner in which it was discussed that was impressive for me. That was a very very important part of wanting to stay, apart from the art and from the technology. Yeah, altogether. Um, but back then there wasn't much. A few gotchis, a few variables, and you know, I would say quite sophisticated people. Who is drawn to something like that? What I also thought about, it is like like a bit tragic comedy, that you have people who are drawn to a technology that should eliminate trust, a trustless technology, a technology for trustlessness, and then we gave rewards out, by handshake. Yeah, like I trust your character. Yeah, I believe in your character. I believe I give you my word. A very very old school, very based old school approach to doing business. Yeah, which is very uncommon. On a broad. Yeah. So if I look back, so there comes some, yeah, a lot of memories come to mind. Mhm.
yeah, the DeFi, like what Choinda said, sounds like I joined Aavegotchi for many of the same reasons as Nofu. I'm not a gamer, but the Aavegotchi tech was just so damn cool, and the nostalgia of the pixel art. So like the staking for tickets, and there's
Yes.
like this gameplay where I can save the tickets and buy, go into the raffle, and I might get something really cool for my
Oh,
Aavegotchi, or I might sell the tickets. There's a way for me to speculate, but there's two ways to play the
mhm.
game, and then obviously all the mini games. Like I've always wanted, just because like you see, I mean, I'm terminally on Twitter. I'm so deep into Web3
Uh-huh.
because this is how I like
Yeah.
make my living, making content. So most of
Mhm.
a lot of people are making mini games. They've been doing it for years, but no one has actually made like a full arcade of mini games. Twan was doing that in his spare time, building Aavegotchi games. I had been talking to him about that. When we had those mini game campaigns, even when it wasn't like heavily prize based because our community was pretty big, we were all in there like doing it. Like Twan
Yes.
created he called it Katana Runner. It was a Flappy Bird clone
Yeah.
that was with the
Mhm.
Katana IP. No prizes, and there
Mhm.
was points where he was getting 67 daily active users on a vibe coded game, which beats out a bunch of like Web3. But it was because we had a very active Katana community at the time. All of us were in there on
Yeah.
spaces playing the game just for bragging rights.
Yeah.
There didn't
For
have to
bragging
be
rights, right?
exactly.
Mhm.
So
Exactly. Mhm.
we we've moved towards this like we need a AAA game so we can take over the world. I think
Mhm.
that's a great goal, but if we need to figure out how to be sustainable in the just the short term at a smaller scale. You can't take over the world if you haven't even taken over your neighborhood, right? We got to move like more
Right.
like Coder Dan would say, move slow but with
Mhm.
precision. I feel like
Yeah.
we've lost that precision a
We,
little bit, both as a
yes.
DAO
Yes.
and as the
Y-
Pixelcraft to a degree.
it was difficult because it is very unique. Our constitution is built in a way, it is really truly true democracy, and true democracy is almost is something like never tried before. And you will get rather something like anarchy, that which means that some people who are stronger, in their swaying of power, or like who there were some factions are built, that's normal. So it's very difficult to to organize it. Yeah. So we lost this view. Yeah. We started to look around. It was a very, very good boom time. And well, it's a personal, as you say, start with you, start with yourself. And then from there out, you can organize your group. And well, maybe you having a really breakout game is also dependent on many other factors. That's luck and yeah, yeah. And then you get a shout out maybe from someone who has 10 million followers, and yeah, it
Yeah,
changes
like FaZe is
everything.
saying, on one hand, we're saying back to the roots, but on the other, we're taking away the focus on the main game and ignoring that a reason for a lot of people joining the actual roots was for GBS and the potential for main gaming
GPS.
events that were supposed to happen in the 2D verse. I agree. I will argue though those like if
Mm-hmm.
you came in during the land mint, that totally makes sense because that was kind of the sell. But there was a point before the land mint where none of us like we were expecting announcements, but not a whole like metaverse. Like I remember us like getting that paper, the light paper for the metaverse or Gotchiverse dropped, and it was like, whoa, this is so much more than what we were expecting.
So much more.
Yeah. So like I
Mm-hmm.
always expected games, but the games like, I remember coming in and it's like, we're playing Gotchi the Gatherer or Gotchi Snake and then, very
Mm-hmm.
limited games, nothing like swinging for a home run. So that does change the aim because if we think about, at least from my perspective, when I first came in here, I saw a community and Pixelcraft, and these guys are really good at like DeFi smart contract stuff. They're building,
Mm-hmm.
they had the
Yes.
diamond standard, which now Nick
Mm-hmm.
Mudgeon is like saying that there are things broken about it, which is a whole different conversation. Um,
Okay.
that was the big thing. That
Mm-hmm.
was like, okay, these guys are fucking crack devs. They know what they're doing. They're building
Yes.
cool stuff. The gaming stuff, it's like if like the axiom, like in business, where you make 80% of your money from one specific
Mm-hmm.
vertical that you're really
Pareto,
good
the
at.
Pareto principle.
Yeah. And
Exactly.
so
Exactly.
we
Yeah.
have to,
And we should
no, go ahead.
find out what these 20% are. What are these 20% that have the lever to move and attract and move ourselves, to the spark again, yeah? Which is spark. What does produce the spark? Mhm.
Yeah, Agi, I agree, man. I had paths because I was farming for people. I had a client. I had to warn him today, yesterday actually, because I was like, "Hey, man, I forgot he's not tapped into Aavegotchi." I'm like, "Go and vote on this proposal for the PTD because if you don't vote, this guy owns hundreds of thousands of dollars of Aavegotchi stuff. He has like top 100, like 30 top, probably not 30, but he has a bunch of top 100 gotchis. He bought like 7 or 8
Yeah.
level 9 altars. He has a bunch of Aavegotchi assets, but he's a World Series of Poker player. He's not really in the DAO as much. And I had to warn him, like, yo, go vote because you're not going to get a distribution if you don't. Um, Walking around the districts and
Mhm.
trying to figure out how to get to his land every hour because I have to channel 300 gotchis outside of his 30, and he didn't mind if I channeled on his land, having all the fastest route to get there, or walking over to Tommy Gotchi next to my parcel in District
Yes.
16 and saying good morning to him because he's farming his land every day at the same time. We've lost those
Okay.
things.
But then we have to revive something like that. Not at the scale, but why not? Why not as a possible revival somewhere down the line? But it is very important to envision something like 2 or 3 years down the line as a potential um, goal. And as you say, this being in the metaverse, you always only know that you loved something if you miss it. That's always the case. So now we know, and maybe something in a smaller scale should be possible. Or I would envision really voting, yeah, in a virtual space would be very, very, like necessitated that you really enter into a 2D or 3D world, and that only there you are able to cast your vote. Like now, you have to go onto the snapshot site. Would it be possible? Maybe it's very easy to connect snapshot with like the contracts that guide a 2D or 3D world, something like that. maybe simple solutions, if they are simple and don't cost much.
Yeah, it's always the core. Like I agree with Choina here. He says the mini games and XP events was my favorite era. That I remember because we
Yes.
started these hangouts. If I remember the exact date, July 31st, 2021. Bearded was on stage with me. When we would do these events, not the hangout specifically, but any of our parties, I remember times where we get 600-700 people into these calls. Like there was points where we were well over 100. We're down to like our strongest 25 now. We're
Yes.
we're thinning out the crowd. It happens. The idea is how do we get those numbers back? This is why I'm never against the idea of minting new assets, but you have to do it in the right way to not dilute the main assets, but then use, if you're going to mint something, you put some thought into like how much of those mints, the funds from the mint go towards the rewards for say these kind of events, because you can make it
Yes.
sustainable if you like have like people do this with battle passes and stuff like that. Now the problem is that web3 gaming is boring like compared to like going and buying the next 1000 X, meme coin that we've spent a whole year of that garbage and it's mostly dead now. Now everybody's a prediction market guru. Like we can't move as fast as the metas. It would be great if we could, like,
No.
imagine prediction markets inside of the Gotchiverse. We just can't move at that. But these are great ideas. I like the idea of getting back to the base, but like Foreign says,
Yes.
we do have different like debt to different level of users. Like I own 50 parcels of land. There's no use case for
Mhm.
land right now. The rewards
Right now.
yeah, just
Mhm. Mhm.
I don't know if those use cases are even going to be built, which is fine. I've kind of accepted that loss because a lot of that was me recycling my channeling Alchemica into land to channel more
Yes.
Alchemica. But yeah, we do
But
have to figure out our
you mustn't
direction.
forget the land is voting power. There happened was also is happening right now is a major shift in the strength of voting power. That was at the beginning completely different, and then we had the long phase, the long chapter with the what was it called, the vault. You know, that was also, you can say about it, neutrally. It was simply a phenomenon, yeah, that we lived through, and that had also an effect. Many discussions evolved around that, but very good things, came out of this organization back then, like our forge system, like the fitting room, so good stuff too. But absolutely, the mini games, only if it's only for 1 XP, you will play for it, yeah, because yeah, it's for the cloud, it's to brag.
Yeah, and like even I mean, mini games can be hacked. There's like all types of things that happen, but the
Yes,
incentives,
that's the reason why it
yeah,
can't go. It mustn't be like for many dollars. Yeah, if you play for 10 FOMO, which is a 100th of a cent, nobody will hack because of that. And if he does, okay, well,
yeah. Actually, Brahman with a good question here. Who else is playing DeFi
yeah,
Dungeons? I'm playing it. I just don't have because my gotchi now. The last time I played it, for me to do a single run, I need 8 credits, which is $8. And it is a DeFi game, but I am poor as hell. So putting up $100, $500 a month, knowing I'm gonna get it back, I just can't do that. So like me and my son want to play it more and more, but the credits are they're a little expensive to be honest for me. Like I want to like I go to arcades where I get the tokens for like 5 10 cents, and I'll play a bunch of games. But for me and my son, it just becomes too expensive, especially for a kid to expect him to like be able to throw in $50 to do it. Now you are earning rewards out of it, but like the rewards don't really
the stakes are
displace.
high.
Yeah, like it just becomes
It's high stakes.
yeah, I want to play a game where I don't mind paying something, but not
Mhm.
that much. Like I just don't. I'm not the right DGen for y'all. Like I'm doing poly market bets with $2 or $3 on long shots, and I have friends
Yeah,
that come on my
yeah.
space that are dropping $100 on 50-50 odds, and it's like how do you do that? Like I don't understand this.
Um, well, everyone has a different budget, but as you say, a young guy, like, yeah, a teenager, $8, that's his lunch money. Yeah, so
And he's eating
that's, yeah.
poison, so think about that.
Right. Um, but it's fun. It's a fun game. I found it. yeah, it's super that you can employ all your variables, all your stuff. Something like that is very cool. Yeah. Um, but it's also an experiment, I think. But now I like Gotchi Guardians now with the new skins, starting the new season. It has its problems now at the start, but well, I still think how could we monetize this more? You know, the Gotchi Guardians.
Yeah, but we also have to kind
Mhm.
of remember that with Gotchi Guardians, that's a Pixelcraft endeavor. So there's
Yeah,
like we will receive revenue from it once they are revenue positive
yeah,
as part of our own deal. But
yeah,
it comes back to the beginning of like how does the DAO become a self-sustaining
yeah.
entity? Because there could be a day where we
Yes,
lose Pixelcraft and we got to figure out all of this stuff like with basically no budget.
yeah. But we will have the IP, and that's the point. That was always the end point. Yeah, and we have to have this in mind. Yeah, hopefully it isn't next month or maybe also not next year, but somewhere down the line in the next few years, we will have to deal with it, and we should start, yeah, now to prepare. Mhm.
Yeah, just reading
Absolutely correct.
Brahmin. Same here, was hoping to get a saddle chair threw away desk chair 2 months ago. It really helped regain leg and knee power. Yeah. Yeah, the game's fun. I like DeFi Dungeons. I think it's a great game. I've had like that's the only like my son likes Gotchi Guardians, but he's not big into tower defense. He liked
Yeah.
SFA, but he had critiques for like the actual gameplay, which were fair. But with DeFi Dungeon, he asked me because we would stream it. He's like, "Can we play? Can we play?" And I'm like, "Bro, I don't have like I can't top us up for the next 2 hours. It's just like I'm busy doing other dumb shit on chain." But he's learning. I think it can
Yeah.
we we just have to figure out a marketing push for that when we're ready for that and how to do it in a way that we're not gonna
Yeah.
spend $100,000 $50,000 $200,000.
Yeah, but now, as you say, games. Now the popular game among my son and his friends is this tower. What is it called? You have these four towers, and you attack each other. I don't know. It's a simple um, mobile game, you know. And what I still like is the idea of Pokemon Go. We have essentially we have something very similar. There are like some classes, 8 classes of gotchis, 8 different characters, archetypes, and I think there are like I don't know 2,000 Pokemons, and we have like I don't know a little bit more. So would it be difficult to make something similar? You know, a Gotchi Battler is in essence something like that. So let's see. Clash Royale. Yeah, I think it's Clash Royale, right?
Yeah, and like I said, Gotchi Battler should be coming pretty soon. I think we're gonna
Hmm.
have like playable betas and stuff like that. Don't quote me on it. I don't even know if I'm supposed to be saying this, but like just had minor discussions with about timeline with Immaterial and Brills in the back channels because I'm supposed to help with the marketing side of things. Um, I think I really do like I'm reading for it. If those
Yeah.
goddamn ugly labubus, I have a labubu on my mic right now, can be a thing, then there is no reason why gotchis can't. The issue with
Yes.
labubus, though, and I talked to my girlfriend about this, is the
Yeah.
marketing that they did was amazing. You can only buy the
Uh-huh.
labubu at Pop Mart or on their TikTok lives. They created artificial
Uh-huh.
scarcity and mania at the same time. All these KOLs, like big influencers, but when I say influencers, I mean like celebrities rocking Labubus.
Mhm.
This was also
Mhm.
after like as the market in Asia was crashing for the Labubus. I had made a video about this because it's like a $400 million industry, but it's also like
Wow.
significantly declined. Uh, that takes flashy marketing. Like now they're upping the prices and the quality is dropping, but people are still buying to a degree. We've never been good at that. Like we can have the best products in the world,
Oh,
but if no one's playing them because no one knows that they're there, then it doesn't matter. I'm tired of being on the timeline. Literally every couple weeks, some bullshit Ponzi game that's like Gamblefy
yeah.
goes viral, like in CT at least. Everybody's attention moves
Hurts.
there, and
Hurts.
then it's just pointless. We are. I think we shouldn't be
But
afraid
isn't
of
there?
hype to a degree.
We shouldn't be what?
Be afraid of hype,
Shouldn't
like in
be.
marketing.
Yes. 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 Now it's the time. Now we tried everything else, so to speak. No, but I see Flame always came up with very interesting ideas and comparisons. I think to other games. Isn't there something that doesn't cost much but could have a strong effect on on social media, for example? Mm,
Yeah, it's hard to say because it's like that's why
how to say?
the gaming angle is so difficult because it's
Mm,
super subjective, but it's like it's almost like universally subjective. Most people like a good
yes.
game is a good game is a good game. Everybody can tell when a game
Mm,
isn't really good, and I feel like Web3 gaming tends to be a lot of people trying to sell us polished turds. I think Gotcha Guardians is really good, by the way, and same thing with DeFi Dungeons.
yeah.
But in this space, we see it a lot. But it's the way they sell that turd that gets people to buy it. Now, I feel like we have a field of dreams mentality. Like if we build it, they will come.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
isn't a movie though. We got
No,
to
no,
be a
no.
little more realistic.
Yes, we have the IP, as Sabot says. The IP is and I think the artwork is simply very, very cool. And we could slap it, so to speak, on anything, as you said, Flappy Birds, or like a simple card game. Um, I played such a card game lately in the GBM discourse. Uh, it was fun, it was very simple but fun, like the early Mario Kart and 64, or something like what do we play? Yeah, with my son, we play sometimes bowling. The Y sports, the old Olympic games. Um, Also not sophisticated, mm, but fun.
Yeah, so we need like the old school 2G like Game Boy version
Yeah,
of Gotchi
yeah.
Golf. That would slap.
Yeah, gotcha golf. Please. Yes. Yes. The old Sid Meier's golf, that was one of the best games there has been. Um
I think
yeah. Yeah.
also
Awesome.
moving forward,
Mhm.
like I feel like one of our major fails here, which I guess we don't really talk about, is like support
Shoot.
for the guilds that we had. The guilds that we had were
Yes.
very strong and they pushed the product
Mhm.
in ways that like they were great marketing. If you think of what Brills and Hills were doing with
Yes.
their setup
Very
and
good.
then as well as Gachi Mafia, like it's good for retention. I feel like, you know, supporting guilds and the guild leaders is almost better than supporting game development because those people are onboarding new people.
Yeah.
For most
Yeah.
of these guilds,
Yeah.
they were doing events
Mhm.
where, you know, Gotchi racing in the 2D verse or like what I was doing
It's a
with
game in
game nights.
itself.
Yeah,
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
you're making
Mhm.
it fun but via community versus incentive. Like there are
Yeah.
incentives but they're not as it's not like giving away 1.5 million 4 times a
Nah,
year.
that's not necessary.
Yeah.
No, 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 no. There has to be a cap. We should maybe even institutionalize a cap. And what Brills did, that was really they have still, I think, a very strong. Yes, this is the thing. I also spent many hundreds, thousands of hours with something like that. Yes. Like you say, that's also on my roadmap for 2026 exactly. The guilds are also very important for a potential new voting system. Like everywhere you have factions, and I will find the paper. I will post it. Factions are really, really important. Like not warring factions, but they have this style and they have that style, and or taste, and yeah, like the tourneys, like the old traditional tourneys. You have tourneys, and it's about the flag. It's about to have the badge, yeah, and not money. Mhm.
Yeah. I'm just also looking at the device there. It reminds me like Base sold 1,500 of these ugly ass Casio looking watches 2 days ago. They're already reselling for like $400. Like with the IP that we have, it does have an aesthetic to it, like the nostalgia of it.
Yes.
These are angles that we
Yeah.
could be taking. There is cost, obviously, and there's going to be production issues. You have to also have an audience just outside of us, 25, willing to buy it. It would be nice to
Yeah.
lean more on the base community. And I know people like Goobs are doing this. They're out there doing outreach within base. I'm doing it a little like because I work with Lever hosting their spaces on Thursday or Friday. I just started doing that. But yeah, like
Mhm.
the community outreach part of it is also so important, and just
Yeah.
getting that visibility, these physical stuff. Like, I remember when I first got in here, the idea of the Gotchi hardware wallet, and it's like, yes, like, or like
Yes.
a in IRL like Gotchi that like I can hit a button and that will hit the on-chain transaction as a pet. Yes, like these are
Uh-huh.
cool,
Yeah.
but there's
Yeah.
also like production
Yeah.
costs.
But isn't it also easier today, maybe? Or yeah, something like that. Maybe revive somehow. Maybe some technology is now cheaper or easier to access. Um, we had many ideas through the years, and often it is like that. You revisit something, and then you have a new angle, and something, or there's a change, and it is something completely new. So I think it would really, for every one of us, to look back at their own notes, or maybe Discord or the DAO forums, mm, and yeah, like make a, how do you say, not recycling, but to make a loop, a memory loop, a stroll down memory lane, but come back.
Yeah, 100%. Now, we have more people here now than we did earlier. So, just very quickly, because we can see if we want to discuss these topics once again. Here is the link to the snapshot for the partial treasury distribution AGIP
Yes.
155. This one has reached quorum. We're at 116% now, with 86% of the vote voting yes, 8.77% of the vote voting to abstain, and 4.97% of the vote voting no. The other prop that we do have open is also the market maker prop for Skynet. This is at 53.9% quorum with 91.36% in favor and 8.64% against. So I just wanted to mention that because we mentioned it. There was no hangout essentially. This has been more of a DAO hangout. There weren't many people here at the beginning.
Both.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's also an official thing. These meetings, we shouldn't underestimate it. The fact that they were continuously there, it's a very important part of the constitution and of our structure. So we managed to maintain this. I think that was only once there was like the danger of not happening, and yeah, that's the thing. And that's well, that's also something. You know, that differs between us and many other DAOs or organizations.
Yeah, got to keep the lights on, friends. So if
We do.
anybody is there any open discussion that we should have about the market maker proposal, like any issues that should be discussed? Because we could probably wrap this up soon, but I want to make sure that we,
Yeah.
because there's more people. Anybody that has any questions or comments related
Yeah.
to that, we can also continue to
Exactly.
ideate on like the future of the DAO and what
Mm.
next steps are. But it seems like we have a pretty clear plan once
Yes.
we get legal counsel to advise you.
The plan is here. I'm waiting. I'm waiting on like Tim Revel, and as soon as that is, I will run it by you, or what I will write to the. But it's essentially these questions that we already discussed, and as soon as I get back with some information about a talk, a conversation, maybe someone other will also like to join the conversation, so we will have that. But I think the next step is the distribution, and well, I think Maxi Crouton is hard at work to make it happen. Yeah, because that's like, yeah, a contract stuff, or most of the work has been done by PG, I think, and of course PR Dev. So well, yeah, we all can think about what to do with the starting capital for next year.
Yeah, that sounds like a great plan. If there's nothing else, I guess we could shut down the DAO call here. So I want to thank everybody for coming out. Thank you, Nestor, for jumping up here and talking in depth. It's good to see
Thank you
that
too.
like even with this distribution, we're still thinking ahead of what we do next as a DAO. The DAO's not over just
Yeah.
because we do a partial
No.
treasury distribution.
Oh,
So that's very
no,
good.
no, no.
Also, trying to
Mm,
think there.
Next
Remember to
chapter.
vote. There's two votes going. If you have any questions or comments, you can jump into the conversations. Just want to wish everybody a happy holidays. I assume we're back
Happy
next
holidays.
week But I don't know if PC will be back next week. But we'll just, if worst comes to worst, we do what we did today.
It will be. They will not be here, but I have holidays. I will be here next Saturday. So yes, that would be then the last. Maybe, yeah. Let's organize something. Maybe
Yeah,
if it's only a Gotchi Guardian game, or a dungeon game, maybe something
yeah, we can definitely
together,
do that.
even if it's on.
I'll
Mhm.
definitely be here next week too. Real
Yeah.
quickly, because Supreme Pablo brings up a good point. The nomination for the Ledger Monkey, I believe FaZe was working
Yes.
on something for that. Not 100% sure.
Mhm. Yes, we talked. Yes, I came. It came back from Tim Ravel. Okay, it costs 200. They would like to make the KYC. They say I have the feeling, they of course they want to do it, but he wouldn't tell me in detail what is really necessary. So this will be also a question for the legal counsel. Yeah. Um,
Okay, yeah, that makes
you know,
perfect sense.
Yes, yeah. We will talk with Face. We should continue that because what is the minimum KYC that we are comfortable with on the one side, yeah, and what does this bring with liabilities on the other side, yeah. These are the sides that we have to decide on. Mhm.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
Okay.
trying to see, just waiting on KYC. It was nice to pop in. And yeah, thank you for everyone for coming out. Thank you, Soju. I haven't seen him in here in a while, even though I see him in my regular chat every day. It was good to talk to everybody.
Yeah.
Flame, I go back and listen to the recording. We mentioned you and we talked about marketing, and you were mentioned your different, unique, targeting of like very specific communities that would be relevant to Aavegotchi. So maybe in the new year, we as a DAO can all have a conversation about the marketing aspect more, just so that we're making proper moves.
It's a new chapter, absolutely. So have a nice holiday and enjoy, I say.
Yep. Take it easy, friends.
Bye bye.